I want to talk to you today about wholesaling. I'm going to go over today the point of wholesaling, when you should, when you shouldn't. Before I do that, let me just jump in and say this is Jason Loucks. I'm the author of How to Buy Your First or Next Investment Property, Even Without Experience. I'm the founder of secretlender.com, the creator of the Traction to Cash system, the foreclosure investing system, and you can find out more about me and all of that stuff at secretlenders.com, secretlenders with an S.com. Okay. Today I want to talk to you about the benefits, the point, when you should and when you shouldn't wholesale properties. So in case you don't know, wholesale properties are generally need a lot of work. Not necessary that they need lots of repairs. They're just generally why you would be able to get them at very, very low prices relative to their after repaired value. Yes, sometimes you can buy dirt cheap properties that don't need substantial repairs. It's just much more rare. So yes, you can wholesale houses that don't need repairs. There just aren't very many of those, okay? But what the wholesale market is an almost investor-only market. Very few owner-occupants, very few, happy dabblers, people who are interested in real estate but don't know it. Very few of them are in the wholesale side of the market at all. Most of them, all they know is rentals and buying properties using bank loans and all that kind of stuff. And banks won't lend against properties that need massive repairs. So if it needs a new roof, if it's got a cracked foundation, if it needs all new drywall, if it needs new everything, constant total repair, rehab necessary, banks don't lend on properties like that. Because banks don't lend on properties like that, it leaves us, professional, successful investors who can write a check to buy a house for cash, leaves us as the most likely investors. Now, I did just say us investors who can write a check to buy a house for cash. I don't want to discourage you because there's a lot of ways to get involved in the wholesale side of the business without being able to write a check for the properties. Probably the one most people think of is borrowing the money to buy the property. That's fine with me. It's not a bad idea. However, I don't recommend that for your first couple of properties. And the reason why I say that is because it requires that you know something more, okay? In other words, you have to be able to evaluate repairs. You have to be able to be absolutely right about your values. You have to be able to hire a crew, handle that crew, get the contractor to show up on time, ready to work, not just spec out the job and disappear. It just requires that you know more than how to find a great deal, which is why I recommend to a lot of people for their first couple of junk house deals, I highly recommend you wholesale those deals to an investor like me. What wholesaling means is you lock up the property at a great price. Generally, that means a purchase and sales agreement. You make a cash offer, you get your cash offer accepted, and then you come to somebody like me, a cash buyer, and you say, hey, listen, I've got it at a great price. I'm going to add a little to that and sell it to you. It's still a good deal. If it's a good deal for me, I don't care how much you're making on the deal. All right? I care how much I'm making on the deal. And there's thousands of cash buyers like me all over the country. And if you can line up a really excellent deal, right? I always say it like this. If you pick up a property dirt cheap and you sell it to somebody like me, a cash buyer, just plain cheap, then at or before closing, without you borrowing money, without you doing repairs, you get to keep whatever the difference is, the dirt in the middle, right? Buy it, get it under contract, dirt cheap, flip it for just plain cheap, keep the dirt, okay? Not the biggest check you'll ever cash, but fast, okay? Generally 2 to 4 weeks. As soon as you can get a title report ready, as soon as I can get my guy in there to give me an estimate for repairs, I'll probably be ready to buy it in 3 or 4 days. We'll probably beat the title company to the closing, because there's just not a lot I need to know, right? I can pull my own comps. I can, estimate my own repairs. I get my contract in there to verify it. We're done, all right? I'm ready to write the check. So I'm not waiting on a bank. I'm not filling out applications. I'm not doing all that stuff. If you would like to be in a position where you can be in my seat, the driver's seat, where you can be buying those properties from other people, right? Wholesalers sell the houses to you. You go on, borrow the money, do the repairs, make the extra money. That's when you want to go to secretlenders.com. Check out that free walkthrough video. It'll tell you everything about how we raise the money for those deals and how we use it. Sometimes I don't do the repairs at all. That said, for your first couple of deals, I highly recommend you wholesale that property, and here's why. Across the country, properties on average are selling in excellent condition for, just under $300,000. I believe it's about $275,000 right now. Well, a deal like that you buy dirt cheap, obviously you're not paying retail. You got to pay a very small percentage of that price. But even if that property needs substantial repairs, when you wholesale that house to somebody like me, you should make a profit of 15, 20, 25, $30,000 or more. The better you get at it, obviously, the more you should be making. And there's no guarantees in life. Maybe you'll make less than that. Maybe you'll make more than that. But the point is, averagely, you should be making a pretty big fat paycheck wholesaling deals, even if they're, sort of average after repaired value houses. What that does is, early in your career, it does two things. Number one, it allows you to do what we call bootstrap your business, okay? So rather than borrowing money, rather than living off of your credit cards, rather than funding your business personally from your savings or your retirement account or borrowing money on credit cards or any of that, you can take a deal and very, very quickly generate a profit. Of course, it's not the biggest profit you're ever going to make, but at the beginning phases of your business, fast profits are more important than bigger profits, and here's why. Because it puts you in the position where you're doing what I call playing with house money, okay? So here's what I mean by that. Let's say you spend a couple of $1,000, maybe less, to start your real estate business in the first place. Heck, I've known people who started it for pocket change, gas money, right? Driving around looking for deals. It's a little bit labor intensive. It's a little bit old fashioned, but it can certainly be done, okay? However you're doing it, right? There's some amount of time, effort, energy, and money you put into your business to get it started. Well, very, very quickly, once you flip that first deal, you're doing what I call playing with house money. So it's kind of like if you ever went to a casino, and maybe you did, maybe you didn't, I don't know, but I think you'll get the analogy, okay? Imagine you said, I'm going to have a good night, I'm going to bring $1,000 and put $1,000 in my pocket, and I'm going to go to the casino, I'm going to play. If $1,000 is not enough for you to have fun, pretend it's $10,000 or $100,000, okay? If $1,000 is too rich for your blood, imagine it's $100 or $200. The analogy is the same, okay? Got me? So you got $1,000 in your pocket, you go to the casino, you bet a few times. Let's say you bet your first $100. Well, if on that first $100, let's say you win another 1,000, right? Or whatever. Let's say you win 1,100. So you've got $2,000 now, right? Well, you might take your $1,000 back off the table, put it back in your pocket. Now you've got made money. You've got that $1,000 you just made by gambling. In my example, I don't necessarily recommend that as a business plan. But in business, what we do is, if we can put out $1, $1,000, whatever it takes you to get your business started, whatever level you're starting at. Some people are starting at, labor intensive, get her done, cheap. And some people are saying, let me automate. Let me start from the beginning. I've got another business. I don't have a lot of time. Let me buy my way in, right? Whatever it is, once you make that first wholesale check, you're doing what I call playing with house money, okay? And if it's not your first check, maybe it's your second. That's why I always say your first couple of deals, your first one or two. So you've got all that capital now to generate more leads, to do more deals in your business. So you're not having to spend the time, effort, energy, you're not having to spend the hours and hours and hours of prospecting. You can very quickly scale up your business because you're playing with house money, okay? It's like made money. So you start with whatever seed capital you've got, whether that's gas money or tens of thousands of dollars, and you want to start at the executive level, okay? Maybe you start at the bootstrap, maybe you start at the executive level. Either way, you're building your business not by borrowing money and owing it to investors, not by running up your credit cards, not by all of those things. Maybe you had to do that to get, the initial little seed capital, but you're very quickly paying that back and building your business on made money. Call that playing with house money. Here's what happens. Two things happen. Number one, once you're playing with house money, you get smart. You get smart. When you're using your own money that you worked hours and hours and hours for, that you put a lot of labor into, it's very difficult to use that money in any way that has any risk attached to it at all, okay? If hey, I had to work X number of hours, or I had to save up 6 months for this money, I had to do this to get that money, it's very difficult for you to say, hey, I'll just give it a shot, see if this deal works. Hey, I'm going to do a marketing test. I'm going to spend, in my case, I might spend $5,000 on a marketing test just to see if it works. Okay, but I'm in a position where the business is paying me back generously. Of course, I believe it's going to work, or I wouldn't do it in the first place, but I'm not always right either. Okay, so the reason I got good at this is because I've made the mistakes faster. I've tested things that other people will never test because my tolerance is a little higher, because I'm doing what I say and I play with house money. So if I cash a big check from a deal, I reinvest a portion of that check into building the business bigger. Okay, that's how we got bigger and bigger and bigger. That's how we got more and more profitable, not less and less. That's why my time in the business went from here down to here, but my results went from here up to here, because I use automated processes that I can afford, that the business pays for. All right, I didn't start there. I built my way there. All right, and that's called bootstrapping your business up. Okay, and you're going to want to reinvest that money to make more money. I'll give you a perfect example. I had a student out in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. I know it's a pretty famous city right now, not for really great reasons, but Amy out in Portland recently did her very first wholesale deal. Okay, so Amy did her first wholesale deal. She made, I believe, if memory recalls, she made about $38,000. Pretty great wholesale deal, especially because the house wasn't all that valuable. It wasn't, $1 million house or anything like that, but she had a great deal. Okay, so Amy called me and she said, yeah, that was great. I want to do more. What can I do to do more deals? I said, Amy, you've got $38,000 in made money. What can't you do to get your next deal, your next 2 deals, your next 3 deals? Go through your follow-up sequence of people you've been talking to and say, hey, I just closed one. Remember when I said, I'm the real deal? Okay, here's my credibility. I just did a deal. I just closed this one. Do you want me to close yours, right? Go back to your cash buyers and say, what are you guys looking for? What do you want? Where do you want it? Okay, now you've got $38,000 to go to that area and find another deal for those cash buyers. Does that make sense? So you're bootstrapping your business up and you're being smart about it. When you're first starting out, you may not know what your cash buyers want. You may not know, where the best deals are. You may just not have access to it if you don't want to spend a bunch of money to find them. Once you do know, not only are you bootstrapping your business up and building 1, 2, 3, 4 different lead generating systems, that's how many I recommend, but you're also figuring out exactly what everybody wants, exactly where they want it, what property types and all that other stuff, and you're getting confident. Confidence is a game changer. Once you do your first deal, you've got that swagger. You're no longer talking about theoreticals. You're no longer talking about maybe. You're talking about, yes, this is the way it is. Do it or don't do it, in or out. This is how it's done, okay? Now, there's another thing. There's a second time. Now, by the way, there's a time in your business when you may not want to wholesale, when it doesn't make sense for you to wholesale a deal. Let me tell you what that is in my business, okay? Once your business is grown, once you're at the level where you have the deal flow you want, you don't want to do more. You might want to make more, but you don't want to do more, okay? Wholesaling is generally a pretty small profit. All right. However, if you do more to the property, if you add value, you tend to increase your profits. I think everybody gets that, right? And as soon as I say, add value to increase profits, probably the first thing that comes to your mind is borrowing the money, doing the rehab, getting the repairs done. Once the repairs are done, by adding value, you turn around and you sell it to a retail buyer, an owner occupant who probably is going to pay full price or pretty close to it, right? And by adding value, you make more money. Okay, that is true. That is a rehab. That's a rehab deal. That is a value-added deal. There's a lot of ways to add value. I don't want to get stuck on the concept, okay? But generally speaking, I don't do a lot of rehabs in this current market, and the reason why I don't is because I don't have to. All right. The federal government is pumping money into loans for our owner occupants to buy houses and fix them. They're giving them the money to fix the houses, so we don't have to do the fixing first. If we don't have to do the fixing, we don't have to deal with code enforcement. We don't have to deal with contractors. We don't have to wait. We don't have to pay electric bills, water bills, snow blowing and lawn mowing. We don't have to do all of that stuff. Wait for a certificate of occupancy. My roofer can peel off an entire roof, put the whole roof back on, down to the tin tabs on the tar paper in half a day, maybe a whole day. Okay? But then he's got to wait 2 weeks, right, for code enforcement to come out, verify that the tin tabs are the right space apart, and put the shingles on. Then he's got to wait another week or 2 for code enforcement to come back and say, yes, the shingles are on correctly. All right? So he can do the job in 2 days, 1 day even if he could just do it all in 1 day. But it takes, because of code enforcement, it takes a month. Well, that month, if I'm accruing interest, if I'm paying taxes, if I got insurances, if I've got the electric on, if I got the water on, if I got to get the lawn mowed a couple times because it's been a month, right? The time costs more, right, in added repair costs almost than the labor of the guy to do the roof. It's crazy, but it's true. All right. So if we can avoid that, we compress our time frames, and not only can we do more deals per year, we can do it with the same capital reserves. In other words, if I've got enough money to do one deal, if I've got a private lender, secret lender who puts up the capital for me to do one deal, and I can do one deal every 6 months because it's a rehab, I can do 2 deals a year with that same private lender, that same capital. If I can do that deal in 2 months, I can use the same capital 6 times in the same year. I can make 6 deals versus 2 deals with the same amount of capital, which means I make triple the money if I don't fix it myself. Okay, we're not talking about repairs here. We're talking about wholesaling. Here's the problem. If I wholesale a deal and my business is built, we're already making capital, I'm going to get taxed extremely heavy on that wholesale profit. Now, if you don't have a profit, you don't have that problem. Okay, if you're not up in the $150,000 to $200,000 a year net profit, right? You've expensed everything out and you're still paying a big boatload of taxes. Okay, so if I was to wholesale a deal now, I'd have to write a big fat check to Uncle Sam for a huge percentage of my wholesale profit. However, if I don't wholesale it, right? If I do a value-added deal, if I can take it past a year and a day, if I use any of the tricks in our, in our quiver, or any of the arrows in our quiver as real estate investors to defer taxes, to lower our tax bracket, in other words, instead of paying short-term capital gains or even 1099 self-employed income, if I can pay long-term capital gains, not only will I make more on the deal, but I'll keep, I might make 50% more on the deal, but keep double or even triple. Okay, so it doesn't really make sense for me to wholesale everything. Let me tell you what it does make sense for someone with a built business, someone who's in the robust position in their business. Let me tell you where it still makes sense for me to wholesale, why I still do to this day. Number one, I can't do this business and only find what I would call the perfect sweetheart deals. In the process of looking for deals, I find the right price on properties I don't want to work on. Okay, I find a 2-bedroom house, a townhouse, a place in a gated community or a 55 plus community. The price is right, but the amount of time, effort, energy, and money that I would make by doing that deal isn't worth it when I know if I spend my time, effort, and energy there, I'm not going to have the time, effort, and energy to go do the 3 or 4 or 5 bedroom single family home right smack in the middle of the suburbs that's going to pay me the best. So I only want to do the best deals. Okay, I don't have any time or effort to spare to put into the least good deals. All right, so what I'll do is within my target market, which is the only place where I do deals at all, I only want 3, 4, and 5 bedroom single family homes. So I'm looking for 3, 4, and 5 bedroom single family homes in 8 zip codes. If I get a 2-bedroom or a townhouse or anything that's not a 3, 4, or 5 in those 8 zip codes, I flip those to my so-called competition. Okay, the other cash buyers in my area who think they're my competition because they also buy houses for cash. And I wholesale those deals to them and I make a profit doing it. Okay, any deals I get outside, right? If this is my market area, all of these deals, right? I get referrals, real estate agents send them to me. People pass our marketing pieces on. Some people, we don't use a lot of signage anymore. It's just too labor intensive. We just don't bother. But, we do get people outside our target market, outside our little 8 zip codes, okay? And if anybody comes from outside, any kind of property outside those 8 zip codes, I don't want to do it. I don't have a sales team there. I'd have to start from scratch on every deal. I'm not a market expert outside of that. I mean, I know what I'm doing. I'm just not an expert. I prefer to be a genius in my tiny little market than an okay to good investor in a much bigger market, all right? So everything outside my 8 zip codes, I wholesale. Everything within my 8 zip codes that's not a 3, 4, or 5 bedroom single family home, I wholesale. And I take all those perfect deals, those 3, 4, and 5 bedroom single family homes within my 8 zip codes. Those are what I call sweetheart deals. They sell the fastest for the biggest profits in my market area. I don't know what it is in your market area, but in my market area, it's 3, 4, and 5 bedroom single family homes, okay? So if I'm going to borrow money, if I'm going to use my own IRA, if I'm going to use my own capital at all in any way, I'm going to do it on the easiest deals to do with the biggest profits. I'm not going to bother with the less valuable deals. However, those less valuable deals might be perfect for somebody else, okay? So I wholesale those to my competition. And just the deals that I don't want, wholesale to my competition, the other cash buyers in my market area and nearby area, okay? Not just right in my 8 zip codes, but all over my South Florida area, okay? Just those deals I don't want, flipped to my so-called competition, pays for my entire business, all my advertising, the phone line, all the, marketing. It's not a ton of money anyway. Pays for somebody to make phone calls for me and all that other good stuff, automates my entire business, and provides me with a six-figure executive level salary. Okay? So pays for my entire business, executive level salary, just on the deals I don't want. And then those sweetheart deals are what I focus on to get truly rich. Okay? So that's why you wouldn't want to wholesale, right? Because you'd have to pay a boatload of taxes, and why you would want to. Okay? However, I see people, and I just recently talked to a student. He's built his business to the point where over the last 24 months, he did 150 wholesale deals. Let me tell you that sounds amazing. If you saw his gross revenue numbers, it's 7 figures a year just from wholesaling. Here's the problem. His net is dinky. It's tiny. He's really only doing half of the business. He's only doing the lowest valuable deals, and he's trying to make it up in volume. My counsel to him was, take your top 20% of cherry-picked deals and do value-added deals on those. Instead of making, $5, $10, $15, $20,000 on those for quick flip type of deals, make $100,000, right? Make 80 or 100 or 120. Of course, it depends on the property, depends on your property price ranges. Our price range, his and mine, are over 400, so we have pretty high price ranges. So, if you're in $200,000 houses, you'll just tend to make a little less than if you're working on $400,000. It's not the end of the world, though, because if you live in a place with less expensive properties, it's probably a lower cost of living. So you'll get the same lifestyle for less. So the point of it is, the beginning phase of your business, I'd really recommend that rather than get in the weeds, rather than risk your money or somebody else's to borrow money to buy properties, flip the first couple wholesale. Wholesale to get in the game. Wholesale to pay for your business, to pay for your advertising, to get to where you're mentally playing with house money. You're playing with made money. That's when you start to make logical, intelligent decisions instead of scared, reactive decisions because you're using your own hard-earned cash. In business, we don't hard-earn anything, okay? That's what people don't understand about businesses. If you're hard-earning your money, you're not in a business. You're self-employed. That's an employee, right? If you're making logical decisions and you're saying, like I mentioned before, if I do a $5,000 marketing test, I say, look, if this pays off more than $5,000, I'm going to keep doing it. If it pays off less than $5,000, I'm going to stop doing it. And if it pays off zero and I lose the $5,000, it's worth it to me to have another X on something else I don't need to try again. Okay? That makes sense. That's logical. And it's very, very hard to do when you had to go punch a clock to earn that $5,000 that you're putting at risk. That's why I say start small, start low. Do a $100 test. Do a $20 test. Go look up 20 vacant properties and look the owners up and call them on the phone. Send them a note card with a stamp on it, right? You don't have to start big, but you do very quickly want to scale up. And the way you do that is by wholesaling properties to get flush, to start playing with house money so you have something to reinvest to build your business, okay? To do it smart, to do it wisely, right? And not because you're scared or anything else, because you're playing with house money. All right. So if you want to learn how we do that, how we find those deals, how we monetize them, we make money on them, whether we're flipping them to somebody else, whether we're, repairing them ourselves, whether we're selling them straight through to owner occupants, all of that is at secretlenders.com. There's a totally free walkthrough video where I show you exactly how we do it. Of course, I'll invite you to, get on board to get more of these free videos. And, thanks very much, guys. Thanks for joining me again. I'm Jason Loucks. You can find out more at secretlenders.com, and I will talk to you soon.